You may be wondering, is it too early for me to start thinking about academic planners? And my answer to you is it's never too early to start thinking about any type of planner. So if you are getting ready to pick out next year's academic planner, 2025-2026, let me give you some tips on what to look for. All right, the first tip is to know your schedule. So you want to think, do I want a daily? Do I want a weekly? Do I just want a monthly? It can really depend on what your class schedule looks like, right? It also depends on what you're going to be using it for. For a while, I was in school and I was in 5 classes or 6 or even 7. We had a couple rough semesters in college, 6 or 7 classes, and I needed a little bit more space than maybe when I was just taking 4 or 5 classes. But then, there was a time in high school when you take 4 classes. There was a time when I was teaching and I would have 4 blocks one day and I would teach 3 classes and the same thing next day. So I would flip-flop. We had 8A, B day. And then I just think through all the courses of my life, sometimes I've had 7 classes, sometimes just a few. So anyway, 4 to 7. Long story short, has been the range. And so it's important to think, what do I have right now? What am I gonna have for this school year? And what makes the most sense in terms of layout, right? Now, sometimes you might get a planner and you've got the columns and it's easy to divide that. Sometimes those columns are already broken down for you. So they're broken down into 4s or 7s, 8s, whatever. Other times you get the horizontal layout, which is what I have right now. I have a horizontal layout. And so if you decide to do that, you wanna make sure that you're gonna have enough space in each horizontal block for all of your classes. So before you purchase it, think, what do I need to put in here? And is there a layout and space for that? Tip number 2, double check your dates. Now, I'm one of those people where if I don't have a planner at this time of year, we're getting into summer, I am like, I need a fresh planner. Now, that's not me right now because I just got my plum like 2 months ago and I'm obsessed with it. But if I roll around to summer, I don't have a planner, I'm like, I need one. Now, I'll usually get an academic planner at this time because it's gonna start soon and then it'll take me into the next calendar year, even if I'm not in school. But the issue is sometimes I'll buy it in like late May because they go on sale this time of year and it doesn't start until the beginning of July. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do without this? Maybe I sometimes equate like buying a planner with getting my life in order. And I'm like, okay, that's a whole month that my life won't be in order. So just make sure that it's gonna match the dates you need. If it doesn't, what you wanna do is maybe use the planner you're using now for a little bit longer, use a notebook, even though that's not like maybe your favorite thing in the whole world to do, just to, get you to when the planner starts. Or you can use those back grid pages or blank pages to make your own calendar just to get by. So definitely make sure the time frame is what you need, especially if you are traveling, doing a semester abroad, taking a summer class, teaching a summer class, anything like that. Double check those dates. Tip number 3, think about the size of your planner. Now, I am not saying you need the world's smallest planner. I know I talk about the plum ones a lot and they have a small, a medium, and a large. The small is almost too small to write in, I can't really fit anything. The medium is the perfect size, and the large, I love if you don't commute, you have a remote job, maybe you're taking only online classes, because I think it's 8.5 by 11. It's really big planner. Plus, sometimes with those bigger planners, you add on pages and it just gets really heavy to the point where you can't fit it in your backpack, your laptop case, your purse, right? You can't take it with you. And if you don't take it with you, you're less likely to use it. And then what's the point, right? So I'm not saying get the smallest one, but I am saying consider the size of it to make sure that it works for you. Next tip is to consider adding a little pocket or a folder. I know I started to think right, you need a pocket for when you get your permission slips. And I'm like, I haven't gotten a permission slip in 25 years and I'm sure everything is electronic now. But that is not to say that there are not little papers or flyers or things that you still need to stick into some type of folder. So I recommend having something like that in the back or maybe the front. It depends on what kind of planner it is. For my Ecolo planner, I have glued a pouch into it or a hard folder and it worked. It never fell out. I just used hot glue. So I recommend having some type of folder so that if there's any extra miscellaneous things you need to tuck in there, they don't get crumpled or anything like that, and it's ensuring that you won't lose them either. Tip number 5, be mindful of the cover that you pick. So I had mentioned before a really thin, beautiful monthly that I've had and I love it, but if you have something like that and the cover is a little bit flimsy or I'm thinking of the one I had, it was very thin, it was black and gold, you're probably gonna need to put that in a plastic folder to make sure that nothing happens to it, right? So I like a planner that has a hardcover. It might have a plastic over some type of thicker waterproof cover. Waterproof is always the best option, I think. So make sure you consider the cover, because if you're gonna have this for a full year, you're taking it with you, it's gonna be, tossed around and used a lot. You wanna make sure that it's protecting what's on the inside. So when you go planner shopping, make sure you take that into consideration. Next tip, and this is a general planner tip, but just, something to be mindful of, consider the paper. So I like to have a decent paper. It doesn't have to be the best paper. It doesn't have to be super thick, but I am not just a pencil writer. I like pens and I like highlighters. And if you do too, you want to make sure that it's not so thin that you are gonna just it's gonna bleed right through. Somebody left me a comment recently. I have to go back and look at what kind of planner it is. I love when people tell me about planners that I haven't heard of before, because then I can go look. But I want to see what this one was, because the person said that you can put hundreds of pages, and I'm like, what kind of paper must that be though to fit in that planner? So anyway, I'm not gonna judge it before I try it, but all that to say, there are a wide range of options when it comes to paper inside of planners. Most standard planners that you're gonna get, anywhere, just regular stores that sell planners, are gonna have paper that's just fine. But if you are a heavy writer, if you like markers, anything like that, make sure that it's gonna work for you and that you're not gonna get a weekend and all of the highlighter, the extra things you're using, the pens, the markers have bled through and then you can't use it. So make sure you do a little paper test. My next tip, and this is a big one, I just want to say I talk about my plum planner all the time, but that is because I'm a planner person, and a lot of times people are not planner people and they think to become a planner person, I need that kind of planner. I'm here to tell you that you do not. You can be perfectly happy with a $10 or $15 or $20 planner, right? That's a pretty nice planner. So the tip here is to not feel like you have to get the highest end, the fanciest, the customized, perfect. It doesn't have to be all that. You can just get a regular planner and don't feel pressure, because sometimes you put so much pressure to design a perfect planner or to get a really expensive one, and then you're disappointed in yourself when you're like, this isn't really what I needed or what I wanted. Maybe you wind up buying something that is a daily and you're like, wow, this is beautiful, but then you start using it and you're like, this is too much. I actually only need a weekly, but you've spent all this money. So you're like, well, I don't want to get rid of it, but then you're not using it. So if you're new to planning and you don't know what you'd like, I recommend getting a $15 planner, decent plastic cover, decent-ish, okay-ish paper, and going from there. Maybe next year you upgrade if you want, but don't feel pressured to get a fancy, expensive planner, because it might not be worth it in the end. My next tip is to use the planner provided to you by your school if they provide you one. The reason why is because I worked in a school once where they gave, I've worked in several schools where they've given planners, and the reason why they're so helpful is because a lot of time your county or district or, your school individually will have those days off, professional development days, days that things are closed, holiday breaks, when finals are, when exams are, study weeks, things like that. So what's nice about that is you don't have to write everything in. So if they give you a planner, even if you don't love it, if you're in school, you may just want to consider using that one, because it's probably going to have all of the information that you need, and it might just make things easier to get organized. And lastly, this isn't an additional tip, it's sort of like a part 2 or a part B of the last tip, is that if you wind up getting a planner and you're not getting one from your school, go ahead and take 30 minutes, sit down with your online calendar from your university, your district, your school, whatever, and put all of those dates in now so that you don't have any questions. Even if you don't do the whole year, maybe you do the first semester, right? Then you will know and you won't be surprised when you're like, oh my gosh, finals are coming, or oh, we have a day off here. Speaking of exams and finals or anything big, if you know that you're putting something in the planner on a certain date and you feel like things sneak up on you, feel free to add 3 weeks before, hey, this is coming in 3 weeks, this is coming in 2 weeks, this is coming next week, to give you a little reminder, a little heads up. That can be a fun way to get ready for the year, set up your planner, but also to make sure that things don't sneak up on you and you're not feeling overwhelmed or disorganized. So if you're not using the one that the school provides to you, make sure you're taking the time to really move into your planner. I love that, a planner move in, so that you can make sure that it is telling you everything you need to know and you're not surprised by anything. So there you have it, a few tips for getting your academic planner. I have already seen some on shelves, which is super exciting. We're getting into May now, and I feel like May, June is when they go on sale, and usually the calendars or the planners will start for the academic year June, July, August, and then they go until the end of next school year. And I just can't believe that we're already in summer, and before you know it, it's gonna be the fall and we're gonna be looking at 2026 planners, which is crazy. That sounds like a year from the future. But anyway, it's never too soon to start thinking about it or looking, because maybe you go, you browse, you think about what might work for you, maybe take a few pictures and then go back in a month or order online, and you'll be ready because you know what your options are. So anyway, if you have any questions about academic planners, planners. Of course, you know I always love talking about them and hoping to do a review of a couple planners that I found out and about in the next few weeks. But let me know if you have any questions or if you've already purchased your academic planner for next year, and thank you for watching. So if you have enjoyed, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.